Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games. Cadia's got everything you want, honey. And they know the names. The jungle fighters are the people that can find whatever you may need. And if you're in the jungle, well, you've got a disease. In other words, welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music.
Oh, mercifully welcome. Mercifully welcome. We've had such issues this morning, ladies and gents, such issues. But we are here. We have managed to drag ourselves sort of semi-formed from the warp this morning.
It's not as much semi-formed as kicking and screaming.
It really was. It was a problematic resurrection this time, or remanifestation. I blame the cultists myself. They obviously got something wrong.
Well, that's what happens when you start to put a little advert out on Craigslist of wanted cultists for resurrection and reformation of physical bodies from the warp. And then,
well, you know, the big problem is you get lots of different types of cultists. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's you don't get the ones you really want. The ones that are chaos savvy, as it were, or warp literate. You get like Cthulhu cultists and whatnot who are crap.
Oh, I would take Cthulhu cultists. I would take them. Here I am, wanting Alabata Nassar, the head of 15 different cults, a successful leader in cultish behaviour throughout the decades. What do we get? Karen, who wants to see the manager. That's not exactly what I'm after when I'm needing somebody to put all the eggs, goat's blood and bird skulls in a correct formation in order to take physical form. When all of a sudden I've got vegan substitutes, I seem to appear onto the physical plane, onto the mortal realms, in a little bit of a less intimidating expression. I was expecting to come back to this plane of reality as a giant flaming bull. What do I get? Hamster. Not fair.
Mm-hmm. Oh, at least sort of coherent. Just it's some sort of body form would have been lovely. Instead of this sort of Hellraiser-esque dripping mass. You know? My nerves aren't even working. I can't feel a thing. It's annoying.
I just want to point out that dripping mass is my Tinder profile name.
Oh, right. Okie dokes. Yeah. Okie dokes. That would probably work better on Grindr, but, you know, fine.
I don't think the term dripping mass would work well on anybody's profile.
No,
anything.
Although, you know, the internet being the internet, I'm sure there's somebody out there for it.
Mm-hmm. www.drippingmass.com. Anyhow, moving on quickly.
Yes,
swiftly.
Poor cultists aside.
Yes, as always, I am Adam, and this is George, my erstwhile host through the worlds of Warhammer.
Hello, and my God, is there a lot to talk about today. Jesus, they keep doing it. Every single episode, they keep doing it. They keep chucking stuff at us. It's like you feel like you're going to die under a mountain, an avalanche of boxed sets by the time the year is ended.
I was trying to think the other day, George. If you think right back to, you know, the days where you first got into the gaming side of things, the Warhammer world, when each month you would go to the shop to see if White Dwarf was out, you know, those moments, you know, on your way to school or maybe on your way back, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it was this busy back then.
No, it definitely wasn't, no.
And then I thought a little bit more about going forward a little bit in time to the early 2000s and, you know, that type of thing when Lord of the Rings started, you know, when they got that. And I don't think it was that busy then. I don't think it was this busy then, George.
No, it definitely wasn't then. Certainly not for me, I can tell you that.
And then I went forward in time a little bit more, George. I went forward to when we first got back into this. 2 years ago or so, and you know, the the fire was relit. It was busy, but it wasn't this busy then, George.
No, it wasn't this busy. No, there were very specific things to buy back then. Now it's like it is literally everything.
Yes.
Given time and money, I would have one of everything, please. and a few I would have more than one of. Thank you.
I got into a conversation with one of the lads at my local store, and I really wanted to bring this up to see what you thought. And what we were talking about was, what would the blind packs have to be to get you buying them? Because, I mean, the fact that the Space Marines, I mean, it's cool. I'm glad people are enjoying them, but it's not for me. I'm quite happy to let that one pass. Mostly because if I didn't let things pass, I would be destitute and living on the streets, huffing plastic for, to be alive. So, what would it take for you, George, to start buying blind pack miniatures?
That's really not my bag at all.
No.
I've got to say, it's just not my thing. I would have to. You would have to be assured that whatever you got would be excellent and would fit. It would be something that you would want desperately. Otherwise, it would just be a disappointment. And that's difficult. That's problematic for me. I've never really liked the whole blind pack thing anyway.
No.
It's just not my bag. I want to know what I'm buying, you know, and that's it. They would have to be something unique, something you can't get anywhere else, that is not going to be released a little bit later down the line in just a normal, like, blister pack or something or whatever, which they don't do anymore. But, you know, it would have to be something totally unique. And that would have to be it. But even then, I would probably resist it, because it's not a marketing style that appeals to me.
No, okay.
I'm afraid.
What if I said to you that... Now, this isn't happening, by the way. I just quickly get the disclaimer in there. This isn't happening in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But this is the thought that we came to. What if there was a series called Unsung Heroes of the Imperium?
Yeah.
Right? And there's no Space Marines. There's no Imperial Guard. What you have are desk clerks.
Right.
And you've got, like, a postman. You know, so you've got all these really
menials, essentially,
completely.
Administrators,
Yep.
the officials. Oh, I would go for that. Yeah,
so would I.
In fact, that would do it. That would do it, and you could do it with not just the Imperium. You could do it with other races as well. Like Comora has got to have menials. It's got to have people who do the administration and the bean counting and whatnot. So that would be interesting. The craft worlds. Well, we know the craft worlds do. I'd be for that. I'd be for that, definitely. That is a way to do it.
Yeah. That was.
That is a way to do it, definitely.
That would get me big time. Yeah. That basically, I love the idea of getting like a 40k postman. I desperately want... Blackstone Fortress has done something weird to me. It's made me want to see all the bits of the Imperium that you don't normally see.
Well, it does look like they're increasingly going that way, doesn't it? They really do. It really does feel like they're delving into what the Imperium is outside of its military forces. I mean, you obviously had Rogue Trader, which had loads of stuff in it that was way back from the past, way back from the past, just updated a little bit, but it was these niche things. It was your Rogue Traders and whatnot, and Blackstone has done exactly the same thing. I mean, as we were discussing earlier, it's for the first time you can actually buy a navigator.
I know it. How cool is that? Also,
that's awesome.
I have
and it's so
loved
weird.
painting the navigator.
Oh, well, I've got my box set, but I haven't started painting them yet. I haven't had time to put them together, which is really annoying. But I am going to, because I've got some mutual friends of ours, Mr. Ray Curran. I'm going to his relatively soon, and I am determined to have Blackstone at least assembled so I can play it with him and our circle of friends, so I can sort of get them in. You know?
Yep.
I'm determined to have that done. But that I can't believe there hasn't been a navigator before. They're so part of the background. They've been such a key part of the background for so long. I mean, they're what holds the Imperium together. You can't actually have the Imperium without the navigators.
No, you can't. And I think that it's about time, and it's beyond time, that people like the navigators. Whoa,
what was that?
That's what happens when you've got Karen doing all of the chanting. It's my tongue has actually become 17 tones. I'm trying to speak your English language without it.
Yeah. Fatam.
Cthulhu, Fatang. It means no worries for the rest of your days. All the stuff about the navigators and things, they need to get more love, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're great in the novels. Whenever a navigator turns up in any of the Black Library novels, it's usually a good time.
Yeah, that's what we're putting it. Well, one of the things that Blackstone Fortress and Kill Team have done is it reminds me of where I came in. Way back then, stuff like
way back when.
Oh, way back.
Well, they're living John Blanche, aren't they? They've actually. It looks like they've gone to the John Blanche illustrations and paintings of these things and made them into miniatures.
Mm-hmm. It's actually, weirdly enough, Blackstone Fortress has made me want to pick up a load of minis that I would never have normally done, like that Sister Battle that was based on the John Blanche painting.
Yeah, which was iconic. I mean, that was like most people, when they think of Sisters of Battle, they think of that image.
Yeah.
Because it was on the White Dwarf. Do you remember? It was the cover of the White Dwarf where they first exploded onto the scene. I mean, that was a genuine surprise as well, because there was no internet back then. There were no rumours.
Yeah.
You just got the White Dwarf, and suddenly there were these nuns with guns and skulls and things.
Nuns, guns, and gasoline.
Yeah, it was weird. It was really strange. I remember as a kid, it was like, oh, this is really weird. There's like a new force knocking about. How weird is that?
Yeah, it's. I think was that the first time that there was a brand new force kind of hit? Because I mean,
yeah, they started doing it around that time because you started to get the Necrons a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it was the first time for a lot. Well, the Tyranids technically.
Yeah.
But shortly before then, but then again, they had been around in the background for a very long time, whereas the Sisters hadn't. They kind of evolved out of the vague ecclesiarchy.
Yes.
There wasn't really like an ecclesiastical force back then. The ecclesiarchy were like the officio administratum back then. They were part of the background, but they didn't occur in miniature or game terms. That was the first time you actually got them as a force. They are the militant wing, aren't they, of the ecclesiarchy. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I'm so looking forward to them coming back out.
Same. Completely. Like, I think it's this chapter approved, isn't it? It's going to have a Sisters of Battle mini codex.
So a suggestion of what is going to come, which is great. I mean, that's wonderful. Another thing apparently the chapter approved is going to have, which excites me enormously, is a character design rules.
Yeah.
That's awesome for me. That is like... That's wonderful. That's wonderful because it means you can actually have like your own Magneto. You can have your own Sauron. You can have your own sort of like grand hero or villain. You can customize them to the nth degree and have them be genuinely unique on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. It enhances the role-playing element of it.
There's a lot of stuff going on with the what you call it, the way that 40k is currently sitting, and I know we're kind of dancing around stuff at the moment because we can't really get into anything. But there's stuff that's happening in 40k and that's going to be coming in 40k, which is exciting me somewhat. The biggest thing that's happening at the moment, and I know that people have been waiting for me to mention this on the show. So, George, have you seen the Tales from Vigilus?
I have, yes. And the minute they started popping up, I thought, oh, Adam's going to be busy.
I've started.
I thought you might have. And they're very good as well. They're good fun. Very like the AOS equivalents. They're the Malign Portents. They're very, very nice little short stories that just sort of lend a bit of flavour to things, lend a bit of fluff and flavour to things.
I think the the big difference between this and Malign Portents is that Malign Portents kept going.
Whereas this has got a set run, hasn't it? This has got a very set run, which is probably a good idea.
I'm so glad that there's just a set run because this is only going to be a week long, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Although I've got a feeling that at some point there's going to be another run of these. And it's going to...
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely, because this is an ongoing thing. Vigilus is obviously going to be like the new Cadia. It's like the new setting where stuff is happening. So you've got all of these forces descending, which are not necessarily new forces, but they're using it as an excuse to upgrade and update them. The Black Legion are running around. We know that now because there's a new Chaos Lord.
Yes.
I mean, what the hell is that about? We knew that there was a Black Legion update coming, but I did not expect that.
No.
Not only is a Chaos Lord, he's a named Chaos Lord. And he's a raptor with a spear. He's so cool. I love that. Obviously, it's so clear that they are not going to release that miniature in isolation.
No, definitely not.
There's gonna be Black Legionnaires running around. There's probably, fingers bloody crossed, there's going to be a new Chaos Space Marine box set. Please, even if it is Black Legion specific, please, Games Workshop, please.
You haven't actually opened Blackstone yet, have you?
I've opened the box,
right, okay.
But I haven't had a proper rifle around yet.
Have you looked on the sprue at the Chaos Lord and the two Space Marines, Chaos Space
Marines? Oh, he's got a great name. It's like Obsidious Malex or something, isn't it? It's something like that. He's great.
Because what I found interesting is the bulk that's on them.
Yeah, they're big. They're big. They're about the size of Primarneus, aren't they?
Yes, they're not far off.
They're about there. And I'm sure we mentioned this before, but I get the impression what they're going to do to sort of bring Chaos Space Marines up to the standard of the Primarneus, as it were, up to the scale of them. I think what they're just going to say is, and this is the easiest and simplest way of doing it, is that, well, Chaos Space Marines have been in the warp for God knows how long. They're saturated with the power of chaos. They've sort of swollen and mutated, so they are man for man at least the equal of a Primarneus. That's what I think they're going to do. And they'll probably use that as an excuse for sort of upscaling all of the miniatures and whatnot, which is fine by me, by the way. I know a lot of people out there are sort of like, they're going to get rid of the Space Marines. Well, who cares? Fine, good. They're not going to invalidate all of your miniatures. Don't worry about that.
No,
they're not going to do it. It would be ridiculous. They're not going to do it. They're going to gradually, slowly over time sort of supplant with the upscaled Primarneus, and eventually the Primarneus will become the standard. That would be my guess, but it will be eventually.
You have slid us into a very interesting topic, much like some kind of greased up topic pig. We have slid right in there.
Yeah,
we're grasping hands, are reaching for it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to take part in the hysteria. I just don't, because I find it silly. It's exactly the same as the hysteria, as I believe one of our I don't want to call them fluffers, but that's what
they are. They are our little fluffers.
As one of our fluffers pointed out, it does seem to be like the controversy du jour. It's very like the Slaanesh thing, which we now know was complete bullshit. The same is true here, I imagine. Although I imagine there is a kernel of truth to this one. I just don't think the reaction to it is warranted. You know, there does seem to be an element of hysteria around it. Yeah, they probably are going to eventually come to a point where they replace everything with the Primarneus, so they're sort of upscaled, you know?
Of course they are. Yeah, that's
I've no
point.
doubt. Yeah, and I've no doubt that's going to happen with the characters first. So we've obviously already got Marneus.
No, give him his true name.
His true name?
His Primarneus Calgar now.
Primarneus Calgar.
I am upset that no one's calling him this, but he's now
Primarneus Calgar. Yep. All right, fine. We've already got him. I imagine they'll do most of the other big Space Marine heroes. Dante is primed for this, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Because his miniature is I say it's so old, it's newer than Abaddon's. You know. I mean, this is another thing, Games Workshop. This is another thing. I mean, yes, we love everything you're doing, but there is that image floating around, isn't there, that shows the 4 incarnations of Marneus Calgar and the 1 incarnation of Abaddon that we've still got.
That's going to be this episode's title card, because that picture is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be one of those podcast that just bitches and moans about everything, because everything Games Workshop are doing at the moment is absolutely stunning. It really is.
But there's a difference between bitching and moaning and poking fun at the holes, poking at the bits that don't
poking
work.
The bear. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that desperately needs doing. I mean, we've got 2. We've got Ahriman. No, we've got 3. We've got Ahriman, Typhus, and Khan. Mm-hmm. They've been done, but the 2 biggest ones, ironically,
the smallest,
Bile and Abaddon, are now so out of date.
Apparently, the rumor is that there is a new fabulous build coming.
So I understand, and there's been rumors of Abaddon for ages, and of course we know that's coming. You just cannot have a Black Legion release without a new Abaddon.
No.
It's just not going to happen. I mean, it would be stupid for one thing, because if they did that, that would be a misfire. That would be a really stupid and silly misfire, because that miniature would look so out of place.
There was a thing I was reading, and it actually makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying that it's true, because it was just a theory. But there was a theory, that there was going to be a new Abaddon for the Fall of Cadia.
Yes.
And they backed it off to wait until they could do a full-blown
Black Legion release. That makes sense.
When you think about the running time to get these things out, like Magnus, they started working him 2 years before he was released.
Yeah.
It would make a lot of sense. The lead into these things. It's one of the things that interests me at the moment, because Blackstone Fortress has done so well that they are fast-tracking stuff out. Now, how do you get stuff fast-tracked when it has to go through the entire design process? Which means that they had stuff sitting ready to go. Hopefully that they're fast-tracking stuff that's ready to go and then working on brand new stuff now that we'll see in 8 months, 9 months, 10 months' time.
Absolutely. I mean, they are definitely drip-feeding the whole Black Legion thing, obviously, because we've got the Black Legion-specific Marines and Chaos Lord from Blackstone. We've got the new Chaos Lord in Vigilus, and I've no doubt he's going to come with other stuff as well. I've got a funny feeling there'll be other stuff around him. And they give a fairly good indication, at least aesthetically, where they're going with the Chaos Space Marines and what will eventually feed into Abaddon, you know?
Yeah.
Which is he'll be much bigger.
Hopefully.
I've no doubt of that.
What if he's smaller?
Oh, that would be hilarious. But I imagine he'll be the size of Primarneus.
Oh, yeah, without doubt.
That would be my guess. I mean, a little bigger, because, of course, he's in Terminator armor. So I imagine he'll be a little bit bigger than Primarneus. That would be my guess.
Do you know what I really want to do?
What?
I want to get a cast or something of Abaddon's head, right? And then I want to get...
With his top knot.
Yep. And then I want to get a spindle drone. And then I want to put the head on the spindle drone and just have my Abaddon being just a head running around on little legs. Just so I can have the world's tiniest Abaddon.
Yeah. The Arch Messiah of Chaos is this little spindly head.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? I mean, Obsidious Malix, interestingly, if you look at his head sculpt, looks like Abaddon.
He does.
He's got the top knot and everything.
He looks like somebody who's in charge of the Abaddon fan club.
Yeah, which is ironic, really, because he's actually a renegade from the Black Legion. He's actually trying to supplant Abaddon, which is... it's kind of naughty and historically doesn't work out well. You know, it's basically a suicide pact, trying to supplant or overturn Abaddon, because he knows. He just automatically knows.
Well, as Therapy once sang, suicide pact, suicide pact, suicide pact, you first. Now, the beauty of... I'm gonna keep coming back to Blackstone, and I'm so sorry that I'm going to do this, because...
Well, we are, because it's so good. I mean, it's just...
so good!
It's so good. The set is excellent. Have you seen the video where they're playing the game?
Yes.
Looks great. Looks loads of fun. It's one of those things that I imagine feels initially complicated, but once you get into the swing of it, it's actually rather simple.
Once you get the hang of it, it is so unbelievably simple.
Yeah.
I mean, just sort of like the initiative, the way the initiative works. It looks really complicated, and you're thinking, this is going to be hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
But once you get rolling, it's so good.
It looks like just so much fun, and I love the role-playing element in it.
Yes, well, it's one of those reasons I'm considering the idea of trying to turn it into a Crawlhammer series.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, what I can't wait for them to start doing, and we know they're going to do it, is adding stuff in. Mm-hmm. So, we're going to get loads more characters you can play as. There's no doubt of that. And I imagine what they're going to start doing is releasing rules for miniatures that are already out.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's stuff in this month's White Dwarf that's coming. There's going to be a side quest for Thaddeus and one of the... I can't remember the other one is. It's a little side quest where they turn... It basically becomes a buddy cop movie. And
excellent. Wonderful.
And there's a talk of cross-pollination between that and Kill Team. So that's going to be interesting.
Well, you could do that so easily.
Oh, yeah.
So easily. You could make, if you were really clever about it and canny, you could make an entire narrative campaign around games of Kill Team, Blackstone Fortress, and then expanding into 40k for, the big finale, you know?
Yeah, you could. And there's no reason why you shouldn't. And the cross-pollination between them, I think, should be celebrated and used at every opportunity.
Totally. I mean, I would be very happy if they started releasing, say, books or articles in White Dwarf where they talked about exactly that and how to do it, you know? How to do it cleanly. That would be awesome.
Listen to us, GW. We're spending too much money, so you need to listen to us.
We are spending far too much money. As I said, it's become like a monthly cost.
Yeah.
I've actually factored it into my budget. Okay, there's the the Warhammer stuff.
Yeah.
It comes just under rent and council tax.
I still don't have Nightvault.
No?
It has to keep dropping down the list because other
Yeah.
things keep happening.
Well, isn't it great that this is what we have to do now? Because there's so much good stuff that you actually have to think about. Well, do I really want? Can I justify that? So what's the thing I absolutely want? Mm-hmm. And Blackstone was it that month. Blackstone was like it was pre-ordered immediately.
Yeah.
The minute it came up on the store, it was pre-ordered. It's absurd.
I went in and got mine on the Black Friday or Blackstone Friday, and there were some very interesting things happened. I got a big poster that was full of a map of a Imperial cruiser, and I got some other bits and bobs, extra body bags.
As you do.
The game comes with body bags for your characters when they die. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's great fun.
And then I don't know if anybody else did this, but there was a golden ticket competition happening as well, where there's a competition. I don't know if it's still running or if it was just for Black Friday, where you could win a trip Willy Wonka style around Warhammer World.
Brilliant. Absolute brilliance. I'd love to see the 40k equivalent of Willy Wonka.
It's fabulous, Bill.
I've actually got it. Yeah. I've actually got an image of Gene Wilder with a cyborg eye now in my head.
The rowers keep on rowing.
Yeah. Although that sequence is actually more disturbing than anything that's ever occurred in 40k.
Well, that's true enough. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this whole Vigilus weekend, there's been so much come out, so much crap. It's been amazing.
Yes.
I mean, one of the big ones for me was, of course, Wrath and Rapture.
Yep.
We've got to see what's inside that particular box set, and it's glorious. New Karanak and new Fleshhounds, who are lovely. Love them. Very surprised to see Karanak. Of all the models to do, Karanak is kind of like down the scale.
Have you noticed the base the Karanak's on?
I didn't know what's going on with the base.
I might be wrong, but that looks massive.
Oh, is he big?
I think he's a lot bigger than those pictures are giving out.
Oh, interesting. That would certainly give him some presence, wouldn't it?
Well, I think that's a 90mm base.
Oh, so he's massive. He's like almost Juggernaut scale.
Yeah,
huge.
like the what's called the Skull Crushers of
Khorne. Yeah.
Sorry,
well, that makes sense. That does make sense because he is Khorne's own Fleshhound, isn't he? He's like the original, the first, and the biggest and the baddest. He's the one whereby if Khorne sends him after you, you actually cannot hide anywhere in the entirety of reality.
So I'm assuming it's going to be the same as a lot of the demon stuff, where it's going to have both 40k and Age of Sigmar.
Oh yeah, well, we know that from Wrath and Rapture. I mean, have you seen the pictures of the back of the box?
I haven't.
It's got a book for AOS and a book for 40k.
Ah, that's cool. That's cool.
So it's definitely, there's definite cross pollination there. Obviously, for me, the big stuff is the Slaanesh stuff. I've been banging on about it on the Facebook page for God knows how long, but all those rumor engines are proving true. I was right. The end. But that I mean, I've got to wax lyrical about that Slaanesh Herald.
I'm back.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
that Slaanesh Herald is, for me, it's clear that they're capitalizing on the fiends. You know, they've got, for the first time ever, it seems to me, they've got a very clear idea of what they want to do with Slaanesh aesthetically.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, and what they've done is exactly what I wanted them to do. Exactly what I wanted them to do. They've gone deep and dark with it.
Yes, very much so.
Like really, like into Clive Barker territory.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I'm going to feel this is why you're so heavily into what they look like, because the Cenobite influence is gigantic.
It's so clear, yeah. That the harpist. I mean,
oh yeah.
I would have been satisfied with a Herald of Slaanesh playing a harp. That would have been fine. That would have fit with like the whole theme of Slaanesh. The fact that the harp is it's the metal elements, the frame, are rammed into the upstretched arms of what looks like a fairly willing Slaanesh cultist or victim of some sort, and the strings look like they're nerves or something that have been teased out from a wound in his back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just wonderful. It's everything I want from Slaanesh. For me, hands down, this is the best Slaanesh miniature they've ever released. Hands down. There's nothing that compares to it in any of the ranges.
I don't want to disagree with you. But on the other hand, I think it's a continuation. It's the evolution of what GW's been doing. GWs have pushed what they can do with these minis in so many different ways over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, the Caradron Overlords, for example, are so unlike anything that existed before their arrival, and they are beautiful. They are fantastic. They are just these chunks of being.
Yeah, they're wonderful, aren't they?
And then right on the other side, you've got the Ideneth, who are just these lithe horrors.
Yeah, very distressing. Whenever I look at the Ideneth, they have that element when you initially look at them. They have like the color palette of like the high elves. You know, there's quite a lot of bright colors on them, and then you look at them more closely, and actually they're really distressing.
They are very distressing.
About all of them, you know, there's something they've worked into the miniatures. This element that we are not as we were.
No, very much so. And then you would have thought maybe that sort of litheness would carry over into the Slaanesh releases. It's not a far jump to make. And back in the old days of the hand sculpted, and to be honest with you, I've always said I have a weird love of the hand sculpted minis. But then I saw the Slaanesh stuff, and I think this has been the point where I finally turned where no, digital sculpting might actually be better. Which I know is more. It says more about me than it does about the
actual craft of it.
Completely and utterly, completely.
It's a subjective thing, isn't it? You know,
massively so.
It's a subjective aesthetics. Yeah.
I'm an old man. It's simple as that.
Yeah, it's like me whenever I start talking about like CG and practical effects in horror. It's like practical.
We're always practical. Yes.
A million times better.
Yes.
CG.
Unless it's Event Horizon.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah.
Which has aged, I'll admit.
Yes.
Es liberate me, est infamum.
I mean, if you want to
I've just finished my second cup of coffee, kids. Yay!
Yeah. I mean, if you want a portrait of actually what happens when a ship is lost in the warp.
Yeah,
yeah, or when a Jellifield fails.
Yeah.
That's kind of it, isn't it? There's more tentacles involved, but that's like the beginning of it.
What I've discovered recently is that there is a lot of people who are connecting Event Horizon up to being a 40k prequel.
You could read it that way.
As in, people have actually said, "Is this actually a 40k prequel?"
Well, like actually. Well, you could read it that way if you wanted.
You could.
If you wanted to force Event Horizon into the 40k mythos, you could do it quite easily. This is like one of the early exposures to the warp. It's one of the first pieces of technology that can open the warp.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, from like the dark age of technology or from the time before that. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not.
Well, it's even before the dark age of technology, isn't it?
It would have been before that, wouldn't it? Yes, it would have been like, yeah, way before that. But yeah, I mean, you can certainly read it that way. And all the imagery is consistent.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Where were we at before Event Horizon?
We were talking about Slaanesh, the harpist, and the
good.
your love of the hand sculpted.
I'm an old man. That's one. And when the Slaanesh stuff starts coming out, what there is in those things is a sense of unsettling movement. Is the best way I can describe it. Everything in there has a cold yet open movement to them. They are drawing you in, but also moving towards you.
In a threatening manner.
In a very threatening manner. But it's an insidious threat. And this is the weird thing. I don't think I've ever sat and looked at miniatures in the way that I've looked at these Slaanesh miniatures before.
No, I totally agree. And you know what? This is exactly what Slaanesh is about. This is exactly what they've always tried to evoke in the background, but the miniatures have never, ever, ever captured, which is this, they're alluring and disturbing at the same time.
Yeah, very much so.
It's a very difficult thing to capture aesthetically. It's very difficult, particularly in miniature form, like sculpted form. And for the first time ever, I think they've done it.
I agree wholeheartedly. Thankfully, I am not going to be getting a Slaanesh army.
I am.
I know you are. I'm going to live vicariously through you getting your
well,
Slaanesh
I mean,
army.
on the back of this, I've actually sat down and actually started getting some painting done for the first time ever. And I've nearly finished my Severed Angels test mini and my Shattered Suns test mini, so I'll be putting pictures of those up at some point. But I've gone old school for them in terms of the paint schemes, really old school, like the Slaanesh. It's all pastel shades. It's all pink and electric blue and deep, deep purples and whatnot. Loads of fun. But I want to be able to put these miniatures in my army when they come out.
Yeah.
I want to get them up and painted. I'm excited. I'm actually excited for these things. And that very often, as much as I love Slaanesh, when the miniatures have hit, it's always been, I'm not that excited by that.
Yeah.
You know? This, I would have bought Wrath and Rapture for that Herald. Even if I didn't want anything else, you know?
When's it's next month, isn't it? Wrath and Rapture's out.
Yeah, it's next month. They're getting it out for the Christmas release. And again, you can see... What I love about what they're doing is you can see these threads leading to what is going to come. So you can see the peppering of the Black Legion. You can see, obviously, the Genestealer Cults, which we'll be talking about soon, I'm sure.
Oh, my God.
But you've also got this slow Slaanesh influence coming in. And I mean, I have had a chat with someone recently who, it's difficult to verify these things, but claims to be a legitimate source, you know? And apparently they've seen all the Slaanesh miniatures and there's loads coming. New Noise Marines for 40k, a new type of Terminator, Slaaneshi Terminator. There are Slaanesh characters coming for both AOS and 40k. There's new mortal units for both. And there's a couple of new demons as well. They're not re-releasing the demonettes, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. But fine, you know, it's fine. I'm just gonna kit bash my own. But we are getting, obviously, the new Keeper of Secrets. That's going to hit very soon. And from what my source was saying, they're going to do the same with that as they did with the Great Unclean one last Christmas. You remember?
Yes, I do.
When they just revealed it, like, in the best video they've ever released, which was the Nurgle 12 Days of Christmas. Yeah. Awesome. It was the 7 Days of Christmas, wasn't it, for Nurgle?
I was going to say, really? Is that the best video they've ever done? It was a good one. But at this point in time, asking for the best video, that Noise Marine might actually win.
Oh, the Noise Marine, yeah. God, I mean, I love it. Oh, yeah, that's the other Slaanesh thing, obviously.
Yes.
The fact that the surprise mini was a Noise Marine this time, that's brilliant. And also, I love what they've done with it. I love the fact that it's an old Noise Marine. It's like the original Noise Marines completely updated. It looks great. It looks absolutely brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I only want it to be a one-off, that particular miniature. I don't want the Noise Marines to look like that.
No, it is just a one-off. The actual Noise Marines themselves are not going to be looking like that.
No. And that's great, that's fine. It makes him unique. It means that he can be an interesting, like, centerpiece model. But it's glorious, isn't it?
It is. It's even Goblin Green.
Yeah, Goblin Green base. It's got the old paint scheme from the original Noise Marines. It's a stunner, and I will be getting that.
There's another thing I was reading, because I spend a lot of my time sort of hovering around various little groups that I've found. For good and for bad.
Yes.
In some ways, it's to follow what people are saying and get an idea of what's happening on the greater scale, the larger landscape, and other times it's just for my own personal amusement.
Yes.
And one of the things that I saw, which I know isn't true, but it makes me so happy to think that it might be, is that at some point they're just going to re-release Goblin Green.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them.
At this point, I wouldn't either.
I would not put it past them at all.
But I love the fact that there was this giant conversation underneath this amazing miniature, which was released in this amazing video, and the conversation is, they're bringing back Goblin Green!
If they cotton on to it, if they notice that, and, given how good they are at monitoring their customer base at the moment, they're probably aware of it. They might do it. As like a little jokey Christmas cracker thing for Christmas or something. They might do it.
Do you know about the Boxing Day release?
I remember reading something about this, but what is it? What's cracking off?
I didn't know about. I never realised it. They've always got something they release on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Boxing Day on the website, and then on the 27th, and it's always a short-term release.
Yeah.
Now I don't remember ever seen this before, but but apparently it's a thing that's happened.
It's a thing. Yeah. It's an annual thing.
Yeah. Normally it's like Forge Worldy, sort of I was going to say Primarneus, a Forge Worldy release. Like a Lehman Russ and whatnot. But from what I understand, there's going to be something in stores this year.
Oh, interesting.
Nobody's quite sure what it is, if it's for 40k, if it's for Age of Sigmar, but there is going to be something which is going to be a short-term release Boxing Day, and will be off sale by the beginning of the new year.
Okay, interesting.
So I don't know what that is.
Well, the thing is, there's so much that we know is in the works that is coming out. It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, it could be a Genestealer Cult mini, it could be a Black Legion thing. Maybe they'll do something really naughty and release Abaddon or something, Like really naughty.
That would be amazing.
That would be fun, wouldn't it? If they did that, like just no rumours, nothing, and then suddenly it's just like, oh, here's Abaddon, by the way. That'd be fun.
You see, I'm hoping for something else, like to go back to Blackstone Fortress.
Of course.
And to also tie into something we were talking about earlier on and before we started recording, one of the things that really interests me at the moment is that GW are really mining some of their older ideas for these releases. The navigators, the rogue traders, stuff like the Inquisitors.
Even in terms of miniatures, they're looking back at, like, say, old prototypes and unreleased stuff that was, like, conceptualized and there was artwork for but was never released. Apparently, from what I understand, a lot of the new Genestealer Cult models are derived from exactly this.
Yes, very much so. And don't worry, we'll come into the Genestealers.
Oh, yes. But, I mean, very exciting.
What I'm really hoping for is more rattlings. Because rattlings, weirdly enough, are the thing that's really stood out for me in Blackstone.
Well, there's so much stuff in Blackstone, isn't there? Where, again, they've gone right back. The rattlings, the Chaos Beastmen in 40k.
They are amazing middies.
Brilliant. And I cannot think that when they do redo Chaos in 2019, that there are not going to be now Chaos Beastmen as part and parcel of it. I cannot think they aren't going to be.
There will. There's no way it's not going to happen.
Yeah, so brilliance. Absolute brilliance. Again, going right back, because of course, way back in the day, Beastmen weren't just chaos.
No.
They were actually abhumans. They were actually abhumans in the same way that Rattlings and Ogryns were. So you could get Imperial Beastmen.
You could.
Back in the day.
Another thing that I'm seriously tempted by the idea of is to get some of the Forge World stuff for Necromunda and put them into Blackstone. So you've got that squat. And
fits beautifully, yeah.
And you've got that
the Beastman sort of mercenary character. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, they fit so well, don't they? And it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense because, of course, anyone who's hanging around, what's that big sort of Mos Eisley Cantina planet that's nearby?
Oh, crikey!
What's it called? The space station where basically everyone and their dog turns up eventually.
Yeah, Precipice.
Yeah, Precipice. Yeah. That's it.
I had to drag that knowledge out of my brain.
I could not remember. But yeah, I have no doubt that there are like rogue beastmen and mercenaries and mutants and things hanging around Precipice.
Yeah.
So it's an endless mine, isn't it? You could just say, oh yeah, there's all sorts on Precipice, so why not?
I'm actually really upset because I went to get the book. I went to get the novel that came out with Blackstone because within Blackstone you get a little chapter, a sample chapter, and it felt weirdly old to me, and I mean that in a good way.
Like sort of like the old fiction. Yeah,
it felt like the type of stuff that came out like pre-Black Library. It had that feel to it.
Yeah, so that very sort of like slightly naive, loose 1980s, very bravura. Sort of feeling, that sort of hair metal feeling.
Yeah, there's a bit in it where there's a Kroot, the Kroot's talking, and as I say, this is the sample chapter in the board in the actual box, so I'm not giving away anything. And as he's talking, he's got these cages on his arm, and he flips open the cage, takes out a beast, and just starts eating it. And that felt to me like something that felt very old Hammer. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on what it is. I think it's the type of dialogue that's being used.
Yeah.
And it made me very, very happy. So I want the book. I need the book.
Yeah. Who wrote the book? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head. It is one of the names. I'll have to check. Because
I do tend to discriminate based on the author when it comes to the Black Library.
And I can understand why.
Anything by John French or Aaron Dembski Bowden, it's a must purchase. And anything by, at this point as well, Chris Wright, he is very, very good. I like him. The one who wrote the Lords of Silence.
Darius Hinks.
Darius, don't know that one. Haven't read anything by him, so I'll have to have a look.
Bowden wrote some really good Age of Sigmar stuff that's been popping up on Audible.
Oh, really? I haven't read any of his AOS stuff.
I'm sure it was... I might be wrong there. No, I've said it out loud. I've got a feeling I might be wrong.
But he's for me, he's like top tier. You know?
Yeah.
He's the very best of the... alongside like Dan Abnett and whatnot.
Yeah. Have you looked at some of the stuff that's on Audible?
I haven't yet, but I will. I desperately do want to read the Realm Slayer one. Just because of
Blessed.
Blessed as Gotrek.
Actually, that's something we haven't discussed. Because we had a couple of weeks off when quite a lot of stuff was happening.
I mean, I remember when it first came out, we were rather dubious. We were sort of...
Yes.
I mean, I was very dubious because I just didn't think he was right for the role, but actually it's grown on me.
No, the problem I had is Blessed is so rambunctious, so loud, that the grim, taciturn Gotrek didn't seem like a good fit.
Yeah.
But then you hear it, and a lot of it is... I'm coming for you now! Moments.
Of course, it's Blessed shouting. Yeah,
but then there's other bits as well, the quieter moments where... Oh, yeah. I mean, have you read much of the Gotrek books?
I haven't, no. I've always been more on the science fiction side of the fiction.
I mean...
myself.
They are pulp. They are glorious pulp. You'll never... as much as I love them to bits, I will always be honest and say they are pulpy to a
kind of
fault.
like the D&D novels, yeah?
Yeah, they're more fun than them, but yeah.
Yeah.
But as they go on and you get in with the characters and everything, I love them to bits. There's a sequence in Realm Slayer where when I realised what was happening, it stopped me in my tracks.
Oh, right. So it was actually properly affecting,
It hit me like a ton of bricks, and I don't want to get into what that moment was.
No, for spoilerish reasons.
But it's cemented between two sequences. One, which is a big fight against a load of undead. And then it's got this moment where there's a realm gate within a monster. And you've got Godfrey going, "You do one thing right in the mortal realms. Your monsters are big."
Brilliance. Absolute brilliance. Yeah, it sounds like lots of fun, actually.
But the sequence in the middle is absolutely beautiful. It's honestly absolutely beautiful, and it's just oh god, no.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm more inclined to read the fiction that's based in the mortal realms than I was the fiction that was based in the old world.
Yes and no. I mean, the fiction that was based in the old world back in the days when Kim Newman was the guy who was building it, and
what was his pseudonym that he was using?
Jack Yeovil.
That's it.
I mean, Drachenfels, obviously, I've gone lyrical on that on a numerous amounts of times. The Genevieve books, obviously, I've spoken about that. But stuff like Silver Nails.
Silver Nails is actually quite good, I have to say. That's quite a good book.
It's a great book in its own right. It's a wonderful mystery. It's a fantastic supernatural horror book. It's also a fantastic Dixon of Dock Green pastiche.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is where I think the fiction in both settings actually works best. It's when it transcends the settings. It's when it becomes something of its own. You know, rather than just being, say, like fan pleasing or whatever.
Yeah.
When they become their own stories, that's when they start to shine.
Well, look at the Orfeo trilogy, Plague Demon, and I'm trying to remember what the rest of them.
Plague Demon was one of the very first ones I ever read.
Storm Warriors, and there's a third one, and I cannot think for. I can't remember what it's called.
Can't remember what it is. No.
But the Orfeo trilogy was absolutely brilliant, and it's once again it doesn't really fit into what the Warhammer world became.
No, that was a writer that was trying to write a story, and it just sort of happened to fit into the Warhammer world. It wasn't really. It was its own thing. It was its own sort of dark fantasy story. That was.
I've always wanted the albino apes to turn up somewhere in Warhammer, but they never did.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that's where that's one of those things, isn't it? Though that the Mortal Realms set themselves out with a world to play, worlds to play in, which is something that the original way back in the day, Old Hammer never really had. It was the Tolkien-esque trying to build a world in order to
That's right. I mean, you've got
something.
Prescribed worlds, haven't you? In the old world, they're prescribed. So you have to set it in a setting in the old world, as it is on the map. With the Mortal Realms, you don't have to do that.
No.
You make what you like. You make your own city, your own continent, in your own, whatever you like. You have like a sandbox quality, which is wonderful. I actually like that expansiveness of imagination where you get to set the rules and create the cultures and the politics and whatnot. And it can be totally new. It can be something that hasn't been seen in the Mortal Realms before, but which fits automatically because that's the nature of the Mortal Realms.
Yeah.
I like that.
So we've kind of got way off the beaten track here.
Yes, we were going to talk about the Genestealer.
Yeah, I was just going to drag us back in because that's a topic that I really want to get into.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, my God, I never thought that they would expand this miniatures range so much.
Not only have they expanded it, they've refocused it.
They have refocused it enormously. It's got this wonderful sort of like... this wonderful contrast. There's a dichotomy in it now. So on one side, you've got this wonderful urban industrial thing going on, where it's a very good cross section, almost like a look at what the Imperium is like for the labourers.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what I was saying earlier on. It's the Genestealer Cult. I mean, for those of you who know, I had the idea of doing the AdMech Genestealer Cult. I'm just going to burn that idea to the ground because I love what they're doing so much.
Yeah, the miniatures are so good, aren't they?
They are. They're fantastic.
And then on the other side of that dichotomy, you've got the really alien, fleshy Cronenbergian stuff, which is very alien, fleshy, and Cronenbergian. It's great.
I think what gets me about it is it's another look at the ground level of 40k.
Yeah.
And it hit me when I was looking at these pictures. That's where my interest lies with 40k. I'm not interested in I like the fiction that comes along with the Primarneus and the
totally
all the stuff that's happening on a giant cosmic level. But what I really, really like is the ground level guys running around trying to desperately survive in a universe
the intimate stuff
that wants to kill them daily.
Yeah, it's the intimate stuff, isn't it? It's like, what does it mean to be human in the 40k universe? Not very much, actually. Not very much at all.
No, I'm interested in the people who never pick up a gun in their lives. That's the type of thing that I really want to get into with 40k.
Absolutely, yeah. The people under the ground, the people who are born to these synthetic cultures where there are they never see the sky.
Yeah.
Every breath they have is synthetically reproduced. And the sky and the stars are almost like fairy tales to them.
Yeah. I mean,
and there are administration forces prescribing that, making sure that they stay there.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that stuff, the dystopia of it. I love it. I think it's really good fun.
I think the thing that really got me with the cults was there's a couple of miniatures in there, and they are perfect examples of people trying to live.
Yeah.
You've got the Primus, you've got the Magus, and you've got the Patriarch, and they are the big parts of it. Mm-hmm. And then you look at these guys, and they're just obviously little schlebs trying to hang on to something,
anything,
the desperation,
anything to make life worthwhile.
Yeah.
To offer some glimmer of meaning and poetry in this universe that is just doesn't want them, doesn't give a shit about them, and what they find, of course. But that's the great irony, and the wonderful layer of tragic irony is that what they find is something that doesn't give a shit about them either, other than as meat.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the idea of giving half a damn doesn't work because they don't even give that. They are nothing. They are just things that are there. It's in the same way that you care about the chicken dippers that you've got in your freezer.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, what I sincerely hope, I love the sort of politics of the Genestealer cults. I love the fact that they're the labourers, they're the working classes, they're the miners and the chemical plant workers and the people who make everything work. For my money, if they ever introduce the Chaos cults, and I do have a sneaky suspicion they're going to do it eventually.
Yeah.
They should do the opposite with them. They should make them the upstairs. Wouldn't it be great if, the people who are attracted to the Chaos cults are actually apart from, say, Nurgle, which would probably have some sort of overlap with the Genestealer cults.
Yeah.
But those that are, say, dedicated to Slaanesh and Tzeentch certainly would be upstairs. They'd be politicians, they'd be administrators, they'd be priests, they'd be artists and whatnot. It'd be more like the secret societies.
Yeah, I can see that. The more affluent are kind of drawn into the worship of a great. That's the difference between the two, isn't it? The Chaos cults are looking for the way to go up the ladder.
Yeah,
they're looking for the next fix or the way to get more power. Whilst the Genestealer cults are just trying desperately to find some way to survive,
some meaning,
something to believe in.
But that creates this automatic rivalry between the Chaos cults and the Genestealer cults.
Yeah.
And this wonderful sort of narrative dynamic, which is not just, your cult believes differently to mine. No. It's like, these are the oppressors and the fuckers who are basically leeching off of our hard work. Mm-hmm. These are the people that we are sustaining. They're our oppressors. It's got this really wonderful sort of present day political resonance that I think would be wonderful. I think it would be fantastic.
So what we're saying is Fluffenhammer, socialist.
Yeah. Well, weren't we described recently as sincerely anti-fascist? Absolutely. By the way. And I don't particularly care for alienating certain parts of our audience here. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that. I looked at that and just went, didn't set out to do that.
No, we didn't set out to do that, but I'm very
just
pleased
our personalities.
I'm very pleased that that's somehow coming through.
Yeah.
I'm very pleased that that's somehow coming through. But yeah, I think that would be wonderful if the Chaos Cults, barring Nurgle and Khorne, because Nurgle and Khorne would be downstairs, definitely. Well, Khorne would be different again. Khorne would be amongst, say, the Arbites and the warrior castes. So really, Khorne's cults would be amongst the Astra Militarium.
Well, between the Astra Militarium and between sort of the more brutish areas of the Imperium. So
you can certainly imagine these underground fighting pits, can't you? In these boxing clubs, you know, sort of like Fight Club.
Well, that's what I was just going there. Actually, no, I think Khorne would end up with a lot of high-ranking people joining something like illicit fighting clubs and things like that. You can kind of get the feeling of. I'm doing something very naughty on a Friday night.
Yeah. So there's almost like absolutely. Someone who's maybe like really bored.
Yeah.
Of their life and is frustrated and finds an outlet through absolutely.
I mean, you could even see the evolution of how it would happen. Somebody who, does a lot of fencing, does a lot of rapier work, goes out shooting over a weekend, if weekends exist in 40k.
I doubt it.
Probably not.
It's Emperor's Day. You probably get like an Emperor's Day or something like that, and that's it. And you get like an hour off in which to commit pious prayer, and then you're back.
But and then you could see the steps that would lead from that to joining an underground fighting club or
definitely. I mean, there are certain chaos powers that would lend themselves to particular social castes. So Slaanesh and Tzeentch would be definitely like the upper classes,
without a doubt. Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. But Nurgle would definitely be the down and outs. There would be some sincere overlap between the Nurgle cults and the Genestealer cults. I mean, if they would never do it. I don't think they would do it now, but I would love to see that again, wouldn't you? I'd love to see like where you get like the Chaos cults and the Genestealer cults kind of bleeding over into one another. I think that'd be awesome.
It would be. It really would. I also like the idea of doing a series of games where different cults are trying to take different territories.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful. You could do a box game based on that. It'd be great fun.
You could. I want it. Now.
But yeah, I mean, focusing specifically on the Genestealer cults, the minis are amazing.
They are. They really
so much character. So much character. That gunslinger guy don't know what he is yet, but he's amazing.
Also, buggies and trucks and bikes.
Yeah, buggies and those are the things I did not expect.
No, once you start putting vehicles in something, I'm all over it because.
And they're everywhere. There's loads of them now.
It's crazy. What it reminds me of is the Schwarzenegger Total Recall. They all give me that feeling of the guys living on Mars. Yeah.
So that's another sort of wonderful archetype, isn't it? You've got going on. This is what I love about the Genestealer cults in general. You've got all of these wonderful influences that you can reference. So you've got like your Philip K. Dick stuff going on there. You've got your Cronenberg. You've even got your if you're interested in more sort of like political or cultural tract writing, you've got that going on too.
Yeah.
It's all in there. It's all in there. I mean, it's wonderful. It really is.
My promise to myself was that I was only going to play Kill Team when it comes to 40k. And I'd get the books and stuff as just to keep up. And then looking at this thing, it's like, right, no, I need a Genestealer Cult force proper because these guys are amazing. And the
miniatures are fantastic.
And
it
means my Titan ID is going to have to happen. I'm going to have a stolen Titan. And
man, that'd be awesome. That'd be fantastic.
I've got a giant plan for a Titan to be used as a walking totem of the four-armed Emperor.
Yeah, brilliance.
Great. Oh, well, I look forward to living on the streets.
Absolute brilliance. Yeah, I mean, and it's just that the amount of character they've invested each of these miniatures with. Every single one I've seen of the new range, it looks like a little diorama.
It does. That's the thing that's really been getting me. Well, one of the many things that have been getting me with the Genestealer Cult is that, much like the Slaanesh miniatures, the character has been pushed. The story of what these each of these people are has been pushed forward. It's like there's been an evolutionary jump with the miniature sculpting of late, which is
Oh yeah, recently I don't know what's going on. There's just like this. They get it. You know what? They seem to get it. They seem to be investing their miniatures with a sense of narrative now, like character, real character.
Yeah.
So you can feel you can almost hear them. You can almost feel them. You can see what they're doing. You can almost imagine them in motion, which is something I just love.
Yeah, same, and I am all over these new Genestealer Cults. I'm hoping the Primus gets a new Primus because it's a nice mini, but I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
I could see me customizing one up.
I would like to see a Primus that's not quite as decorous as that. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? I'd love to see a Primus that's a little bit like a ragged, sort of freedom fighter style character, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I would like to see that more rather than a priest. Because I imagine, for my money, the members of the Genestealer cults, certainly the more human members, wouldn't be that interested in following a priest, because it's the priests that are screwing them over. You know, they're part of the social classes that are all screwing them over. I would like to see a more sort of Che Guevara type.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's an idea.
I think that would work really, really well for a Genestealer cult.
You've given me an idea of how to make a Primus, and I think I'm going. Yeah, all right, cool.
You want a guy who's leading from the front, don't you? You know, a guy who's like really inspiring, who's got rhetoric, who's very passionate, and doesn't just talk but does. You know.
Yeah.
So like the other members of the cult, certainly the human ones or the more human ones, look up to him or her.
Yeah.
For that matter.
Oh no, making a female Primus. Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm going to.
Makes sense.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm thinking of the what's her name? The child army woman.
Hmm?
Oh, there's a half-forgotten myth that's in my head of the young girl who raised the children's army.
Yes, I can't remember her name.
No, it's gone.
But even then, you've got other archetypes like Joan of Arc.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, Joan of Arc would be a great archetype for a Primus.
What I was thinking was you have the Primus being a little girl, because that's going to just freak out.
That would be awesome.
Freak everybody out.
That would be brilliant. Yeah. I can sort of see what she would look like. You know, I can actually see her. Like Katniss.
Yeah,
Katniss Everdeen from. Yeah. I could totally see that.
I think that's the route I'm going to go, because that would be really cool, and it would also just freak out your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, the Hunger Games scenario is basically an Imperial. I mean, it's like an Imperial scenario anyway, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Why not? Yeah, that would be awesome. Awesome stuff.
Right, I'm going to move us on a little bit because I've just realised.
Let's move on, because it's so easy to sit here and just sort of wax lyrical about how great everything is.
So, one of the things I wanted to do this episode is I wanted to get some feedback, and I want to get some questions as well, because this is episode 30. We've actually been going for longer than 30 episodes would make you think.
That's weird. It still feels very new.
It does. Well, we've been at this for we'll be coming up to 2 years in the not too distant future.
What? No, that's very weird.
But it's because we've been a little bit starty-stoppy.
It's very strange.
Yeah, with all the stuff that's been happening in the real world. So to start with, then I'm going to go through some feedback. And, So Christopher Carlson says, okay, firstly, I'm going to ask, are you going to answer all the questions we posted in the summer just before the break? And the answer is yes, after this segment.
Hey,
he also asks, how do you feel about crossing over with other Warhammer podcasts?
I'm up for that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd be up for that, for having a conversation. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of guys out there that I would like to talk to and do things with.
I mean, just dynamically, because I think we do tend to come at things from a slightly odd perspective when it comes to the 40k podcast. So it would be interesting to get that contrast going on, if nothing else.
Yeah. What else we got? There's issues with recording. Robert Bateman basically asks about the fact that we were talking about the Wrath and Rapture stuff, and we talked about it in the morning. And then it got released. Well, we recorded on the Saturday morning, and then I didn't get the time to release it until the Monday evening. In between that time, all the Wrath and Rapture stuff got released. So we were.
Oh well. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where I try to get these shows out as fast as possible. We don't normally record on a Saturday morning, but real life means that it takes a little while for these things to get out.
Yes.
Ronald Clark says, frankly, my initial opinion of the Fluffenhammer podcast still stands. It's fun.
Hey.
Both you all bring extensive experience and knowledge to the table, which is awesome for a new guy such as myself. It's more engaging listening to people talk about initially uninteresting topics when those discussing it are deeply invested personally in the subject. Hearing unprompted enthusiasm about the hobby is refreshing when I know there are other groups out there just saying good things because they want to continue being a part of the GW product pre-releases program.
Right, yes. I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, if they ever did take notice of us, it would be interesting, it'd be fun, but at the same time, I'd be very wary of doing anything that would sort of like put strings on us or put like constraints on us.
No matter what, I think the group that we've got and the fan base that we have, they'll keep us honest.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's what I certainly want from this. I would not want to be constrained or to be obliged to wax lyrical about something I'm not that bothered about.
No, definitely not. Never. He carries on to say, being underground, ironically, always has the highest ground for authenticity.
Seems to be the case in a lot of areas.
It does. If a criticism must be made, then it's simply that there are times with the audio issues where the balance between Adam and George are off. Things like that are part of a recording audio from 2 or more locations over a telephone and internet connection, so not exactly a problem in my mind. Tech problems even happen to the highest level of news and entertainment, so hardly something to be salty over. Also, Ultramarines are the greatest. It's canon. She is Adam and George.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good time very soon. Then it looks like there's going to be lots of them coming out very soon.
Cheers, Ron.
Yeah,
the audio issues is something I'm aware of. The problem is
we're working on it.
It's Skype. Even for some reason, and I know the people who aren't having this issue, and no matter what I do, this issue keeps coming back. Skype has a tendency to infest the other recordings, and I don't understand how it's happening. I don't understand why it's happening. But we this morning had a tester with something else, and hopefully we can get that up and running. So
hopefully,
the evolution continues.
Yes, we will get there. We will get to a standard where it's totally glitch-free, hopefully.
Christopher comes back and says, and when it comes to bad stuff, you do have the audio issues. Like Adam got real low one time in the latest episode, but that's something that will be fixed over time, I know. Also, you are wrong about stuff, but that's what this group is for.
That's definitely the case, I've no doubt. I think the one that sticks out in my mind is I actually misnamed one of the Beastmen heroes, because their names are very similar. I think his name's Karazak One Eye, I think his name is. And I called him Karanak or something like that, which is the Fleshhound character, something like that. But definitely get things wrong. There's no doubt there.
Yeah, and if we get something wrong, I've got no issues with being told that we've got it wrong. So.
Oh God, no, absolutely not. It's fine, absolutely fine.
Audio stuff continues from Robert Bateman. Gruffy needs to sort out his as it keeps going low. I think it's Skype autocorrecting. It's not just Skype autocorrecting. It's the entire PC autocorrecting the recording that's coming out of Skype and through Audacity, apparently. Even though I'm not recording this recording from Skype, I'm recording it through Audacity, somehow there is an autocorrect happening, and I don't understand. Guests. If you are having a guest, I think there should be a reason. So a specific topic to discuss New Army or specific book. Andy was on recently, but the discussion with him didn't seem to go anywhere. It would be nice, for example, for him, as a new player, to discuss a codex with you guys in an episode.
Okay, that's not a bad idea, actually, because that would actually... I suppose it would lend the conversation like dynamism, give it like a direction to head towards. So we'll definitely take that one on board.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with that one.
I'm on with that one. Yeah, definitely.
Quinn Goya says, the audio has an odd, persistent and frustrating habit of swinging up and down in volume, with it happening independently to both of you in most episodes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
So that seems to be like the big thing that we need to get fixed then, the audio, because that seems to be the consistent one that's coming up.
Yep.
We are working on it.
Yep.
With any luck, by next episode it should be fixed.
Yeah, hopefully this episode will be a bit better for it. I'm convinced it'll still happen, but this should be a bit better because I'm using a different form of modulator. So, hopefully. And Christopher then returns and says, this is more of a general gear grinder, but I hate it when the theme music is way louder than the voices, and it hurts the ears, wakes you up when you try to use it to sleep. Also, hi Andy. So if you're listening to this as you're sleeping, Chris, or Christopher, seagulls, 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 seagulls. I hope you enjoy your dream about seagulls. So, moving on. We also have a load of questions that were originally done in August.
Hokely cokes.
And then everything went sideways. So, okay.
Throw them at me.
Paul Anderson asks, what happens to loyalist Marines from traitor legions?
There is some fiction about that, actually. And it depends, largely. Some of them we know survived. They managed to break away from their legions with tremendous effort and loss, and have become basically the antecedents. They became the antecedents of the Grey Knights. Garrow and his lot. There's at least one named character from each of the traitor legions who did not turn traitor. Who formed this sort of like elite unit of hunters that painted their armor grey, did away with all of their old heraldry and whatnot, and became the antecedents of the Grey Knights. For the others, sometimes they go into exile, sometimes they become like mercenaries or warlords of their own worlds, like tyrants on their own planets, in their own cultures. Some of them commit ritual suicide. Some of them are still at large, by all accounts. Some of them are still out there in the war. They're still fighting against their original legions as a kind of atonement. It does happen. It's definitely been known. In the Crimson Slaughter Codex, which is a more recent chapter turned renegade, there is a suggestion of a portion of the original chapter, which was the Crimson Sabres, returning to their home world and setting up a chapter monastery there and waging a war against their former brothers.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool? So yeah, it does happen. It definitely happens.
Yeah, my answer would have just been Grey Knights, come and find them.
There's that too. They are often not friends of the Imperium, by the way, because the Imperium doesn't distinguish.
No.
It often hunts them down as zealously as it did their brothers, you know?
I know that... I'm trying to think who it is. Is it the Astral Claws?
Oh, the Astral Claws. They became the Red Corsairs.
Yes, that's right.
They're the Tyrant of Badab.
Yeah.
They're his lot.
Because memory serves me right. Half the Legion turned traitor, half the Legion didn't they?
That's right, and they were executed. Basically, they were. Although, there's always space for you to just say some of them escaped.
Yeah.
There's always space for that. It's deliberately worked into the background. So if you wanted to create a loyalist, like renegade chapter of Astral Claws, you could do it.
Okay. Paul Anderson also asks: is the idea of orcs as plants established fluff or fan headcanon?
No, it's established fluff.
It's totally...
They're not plants, they're fungus,
Yep.
but yeah, it's totally part of what they are, yeah.
But only in 40k, the orcs...
only in 40k, yes, they're not fungus in AOS.
No, they are not.
They're actually a different species in AOS, technically. The AOS orcs are totally different from the 40k orcs, even though they have massive physical resemblance.
Paul Anderson continues, Legion of the Damned, mutated Marines or Ghost Riders of 40k?
They're the Ghost Riders of 40k. I mean, they so are. They're based on Ghost Rider. All of their imagery is based on Ghost Rider. Other than that, it's hard to say. They're a deliberate mystery.
Yep.
We don't really know, is the answer to that, because nobody really knows. It's like the Fallen Angels, they'll never actually answer what's going on there.
I think the current fan theory is that they're actually from the future and they're coming back from something.
They're sort of like avenging angels, aren't they?
Yeah. Where's he at? Can anyone tainted by Genestealer Month Love be saved? Can the taint be recognised?
I don't recall ever reading a situation where that has happened. The thing is, I don't think the Imperium would care. They wouldn't even waste time trying. If they detect the taint, they would just obliterate you.
Many years ago, I remember reading a short story where once the Patriarch was dead, the human populace returned to normal, but the hybrids didn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, the hybrids are the pure strains and all those type of things.
Yeah. Now, it's genetically ingrained in them, isn't it? So there's not much you can do about that.
No. And they can go off and taint, and of course the pure strain can become a patriarch, and the hybrids can eventually.
It rises again, doesn't it? Over successive generations, it would just arise again. So the cycle would start again, as long as there's the genetic capacity.
There could be one second generation hybrid left, and that would be enough to repopulate the cult. So
totally, yeah. So they don't really. I mean, once they've infested a gene pool, you kind of, if you're from the Imperial perspective, you kind of have to obliterate the entire gene pool.
You do, yeah. You have to wipe the planet clean.
Yeah.
Which is issues.
Cheery.
Yes.
Cheery stuff.
When you enter the warp, you need the Geller field. Without it, you open yourself to its influence. But what is the warp? In that, are we a physical body in a non-physical place? And does our entry damage that universe as much as it's damaging ours?
No, it doesn't. What happens is, and you can read about this in the Liber Chaotica, by the way, because this actually happens to the guy who is writing the books. If you wander the warp physically, if you enter it physically, it coalesces around you. It actually stops being a state of wild energies based on your emotions and your imagination and your preconceptions, and it becomes the realm of chaos as we understand it. It actually manifests as a physical plane. So it's not set, it's not certain, it will still shift and change around you. But say if you manage to break your way through to Nurgle's Garden, for example, it would become Nurgle's Garden physically around you.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't just be this insane wash of warp energy. It would actually become the physical garden around you and would have as much effect upon you as that garden would were it a physical place, and vice versa. But the way it manifests is always different. It depends on a lot of factors, like the preconceptions of those that it manifests around, for example. It is chaos and insanity, so it can be, although it would always be Nurgle's Garden, it would be a slightly rejigged and different version of Nurgle's Garden for everyone who wanders it. Which is brilliant, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Isn't that so cool?
I love the idea of the warp and all the different places in the warp. And it started for me when I was reading on the Crystal Labyrinth.
Which is the most warp-like. It's the most sort of sincerely chaotic of the realms of chaos.
There's stuff in there that really got inside my head and made me think about what it must be like to walk around a physical place in a non-physical dimension, for want of a better term. And the idea of the shifting, mutable change that constantly would be happening, and how much you would not be able to find a single landmark to steady yourself against.
Well, this is what the Crystal Labyrinth is like, isn't it? It is Jazeesh's realm is insanity.
Yeah, completely. And
the only way to tame it, the only ones who've made their way through it to the library at its heart, the labyrinth is a reflection of your own mind, of your own psyche. It's your own potential insanity. So you have to tame it by taming yourself, it seems.
Yeah.
There's an element of discipline with progressing through the labyrinth, and it's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it, because otherwise it will just subsume you.
Paul also asks, Paul had many questions. If psychers are rare and thousands a day are killed to keep the Emperor alive, just how many humans are there in the 40k universe?
Billions.
There has to be a point where we don't breed enough, right?
I don't know. There's so many human beings in the 40k universe. You have to bear in mind we've spread to like millions of worlds at this point.
So,
some of which are way bigger than Earth, some of which are massive, and we've covered their entire land masses. There are countless human beings
Well, let's
in
think.
the 40k universe.
Not only is there countless human beings, but overpopulation is a major problem on every world.
Yep.
So, if you think about where we are at the moment on our planet, on Earth, which is in the real world, spinning through the cosmos, like a bunch of barely evolved monkeys hanging onto a dying rock that's falling through space.
For now.
We are at the tipping point of overpopulation.
Not to be too down, but
and what's the current population of Earth?
Hello?
Hello, George. Oh, there you are.
What happened there?
I don't know.
We had a moment there.
So what I was saying was the current population of Earth is 7.53 billion. Okay, and that was taken in 2017. So let's take calculator.
No, exactly. We're not doing just this in the abstract. We're actually doing this in real time.
Well, it's going to have to be in abstract because I don't know how many worlds there are in the Imperium.
Well, this is the point, isn't it? There are countless worlds in the Imperium. There are other worlds that haven't even been found where humanity has settled.
Well, we know that every planet of the solar system has been populated. So we are now on to 67.77 billion just in the solar system. And we know that there are 12 systems surrounding. So we're now on 813 billion.
Yeah. And given how oppressive and prescriptive the Imperium is, I have no doubt there are systems in place to compensate for that. So I imagine there are prescribed either breeding programs or like genetic systems whereby they just cultivate human beings, you know?
So the way of looking at it is that just on the solar system and surrounding systems, which are places where people pop to for a cup of tea, there are nearly I don't even know what the number is here, 1,000 billion.
Yeah.
And that's just... And then you multiply that by another, couple of million for the amount of planets that are out there.
There are more than enough.
Yeah, so there you go, there's some maths.
I mean, even the planets that experience exterminatus are recolonized. They're recolonized eventually. So, yeah.
But even then, if you look at the sort of numbers of what we've got now, there are huge amounts of swathes of Earth where we haven't built, where we haven't completely overpopulated. And that's not even bringing into the fact that hive cities and things don't just build a footprint, they build upwards. So you could end up with the entirety of Earth's population in a single hive city.
Yeah.
Because those things touch the sky.
Or they burrow right down, or both.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, look at Necromunda. Necromunda doesn't. The spires touch the sky, but it also goes down to nearly at the Earth's core. So you could probably double that number for just the amount of people living in the Hades Hive in Necromunda.
Yeah. So it's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is actually insane. It's an incalculable number of human beings out there.
I mean, granted, you could average it out. Places like Katachan are going to have a smaller amount of people than Necromunda does.
Yes, they are.
But
yes, they are.
See, there you go. Christopher Carlson asks, how thin should thin be?
What, in terms of paint?
I'm assuming so, because he also asks, do I need to thin army painter paint? Thin should be thin.
Pretty thin.
Army painter should be thin. Many thin coats.
Yeah. Yes. Concurred.
Adam Evans has the last question. Even though I've read the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay books, played Shadow of the Horned Rat, and I adore Warhammer Quest, good man, I still don't understand how the people of the Empire find the idea of ratmen to be so unbelievable. Demons I can understand, but they fight orcs, goblins, beastmen, and walking corpses on a regular basis. It's the insidious nature of the Skaven, I think. It's the parody of humanity that makes them... people don't want to talk about them. So when you look at beastmen have always had their own tribal society. They've always had their own sociological indent, and they go off and they do their thing. Demons have their own personalities, their own way of living. Orcs are they are orcs. Orcs and goblins are orcs and goblins. There might be some vestiges of what could be classified as a human civilization in there, but they are very much their own things. Skaven are a mirror of human society. They are the parody of humanity. They are the almost the joke of humanity. All of humanity's worst base instincts, but being celebrated and being called the best of a species. And I think that's why it's the people who know that Skaven exist kind of just go, I don't want to talk about these because they are too much like us, but not us.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, also, the Beastmen, although they're probably more prominent than the Skaven, they do sort of occupy a similar bracket.
Yeah.
Until they start raiding and bursting out of the woodland areas, they're like fairy tale monsters. They're the monsters that parents used to scare children into obedience with. And as for demons and whatnot, the demons up until the destruction of the old world, the demons were actually really rare.
They were, yeah.
In civilized societies. Again, they were sort of like mythic monsters rather than actual monsters. The same is true of the people of the north, the Norsemen. And apart from the people who were living on the very edge, the borders of the empire, they were kind of mythic too. So they all sort of occupy, depending on where you are were in the old world, they all occupy a different sort of bracket. For some people, they're part of daily living. For other people, they are mythic. They're actually fairy tale creatures. But yeah, I could definitely see the point. I mean, like, I can definitely see the point Adam's making here. Like, how is it that people find the Rat Men so difficult to believe, given that there are these extraordinary creatures occurring around them? Yeah, it's a fair point. To be fair, it's just a bit of poetic license.
It is.
I mean, it just gives the Skaven a little bit of a mythic edge that they wouldn't otherwise have.
I think,
really.
I think in AOS, of course, that they've kind of moved away from that. They're now much more. These things exist.
Oh yeah, these things definitely exist now.
Yeah. But I think back in the old world, I think one of the biggest parts as well was that the Skaven, unlike the Beastmen or anything else, the Beastmen, the Orcs, the Goblins, and the Undead, they would charge at cities and they would. You'd see them building up forces. You'd see them, the tides of war coming in. Skaven were always much more insidious. They were hiding in the shadows and working through other...
coming up from underneath. It's slightly different dynamic, isn't it? Slightly different dynamic.
But what I always like the idea of, and I'm completely with Adam on this one, and it's not just because he's called Adam, which is the best name. What I always liked was the idea of, you get a Skaven army. So logically, hundreds and hundreds of soldiers have seen Skaven.
Yeah, logically speaking, yes. Because there are hundreds and hundreds and billions of Skaven. There are more Skaven in the old world, or were, than there were human beings.
Yeah.
You know?
But you think about the amount of people who've played Skaven armies and stuff like the Doom Wheels and things, and obviously enough people did because Skaven stayed, and they kept releasing new models for them and everything.
Yeah.
You think about that logically, and it's like, yep, a lot of humans have seen Skaven. Entire hordes of Skaven coming over the
there's
hill.
always a way, isn't there? There's always a way. Maybe what they could have said is the Skaven exercise some sort of weird magic where they conceal themselves after they've been encountered, so they sort of muddy the memory of themselves.
Yeah.
Something like that. You could have very easily done something like that.
And just to finish it all off then, I've had a few people on the YouTubes. I'm not going to go through them all, because they're all quite simple, quite short comments. The audio got mentioned a couple of times, but the thing that a lot of people have asked is, are the spotlights going to ever come back? If you remember early on, what we did at the end of each show was we spotlighted something, and then that kind of fell to the wayside.
It kind of faded away, didn't it?
It did. So that's something me and George need to have a discussion about at some point.
Yeah, but if people want it to come back, I'm kind of up for that.
Yeah, I think...
Or maybe even doing like a separate show.
I think that would be the way to go. I think that if we had like a short 15-minute show or something that came out, and half an hour show, and we just spotlighted something. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a great idea. I think so too. You could do 40k, I'll do AOS.
I'm totally up for that.
Yeah.
Totally up for that.
And I think then, George, that's going to be us for tonight, tonight, he says, today, because we're now passing the hour-and-a-half mark, and I don't want to keep everybody bored. So, with all that being said then, is there anything you need to pimp out, sir?
Certainly. I mean, I recently had my next short story collection published, which is Essential Atrocities, which you can find on Amazon.co.uk. Massive thank you to anyone who purchases and reads that. Thank you so much. And I am still working on this very big project with the photographer Nick Hardy, Born in Blood. The short story collections for that will be out soon. The 3 visual volumes are already out. There's going to be 3 more of those. And you can find all of this stuff at strangeplaygrounds.com. So I think that's it for me. Oh, you can also find me at Exaggerated Elegy roundabouts on the YouTubes, and also at Enigmatic Elegy on Twitter.
I would like to say that I'm halfway through your book, George, and I'm
Essential Atrocities.
thoroughly enjoying it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
So much so that I'm actually going to be putting a second order in to give to somebody else.
Oh, brilliant! That's all. All to the good. It's all to the good. Yeah. Happy Christmas too, George.
I'm looking forward to the point where during the wedding where you get to meet the guy I'm going to give a book to. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
He's Abby's uncle. So.
Right, okie dokes.
Tee-hee, just to put the fear of God into you.
Yeah.
I've got nothing really to pimp out at the moment. I've got some work that I'm trying to get done and in the back burner, but hopefully that'll all get announced early next year. If you follow me on Facebook, you might know what it is. Mwahahahaha. Right then, so with all that...
I know what it is.
Yes, you do.
I know what it is.
You've seen previews.
Mm-hmm.
And with all that being said, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much, George, and thank you to the guys
pleasure.
at home. You all have a good day. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.